It's not the cardinal now. Hey Larry, take a bow.
They have a song about him? That's different.
By the
No.
time he had led Tiny ISU as a senior to a 33-0
They
record.
have a Larry Bird anthem. Insane. Thank y'all again. This is the 1K special. We're going to be reacting to Magic vs. Bird, a courtship of rivals. I reacted to a couple of Larry Bird videos. If you want to see them, they're up here. The playlist should pop up. The mixtape, the passes, trash talk, the making the case. So I figured we should probably get into the most important part of, or not the most important part, but the biggest rivalry, I guess, in his career, which was versus Magic. I watched the HBO documentary, which is just season 1, showing how like toxic they were. Obviously it has a comedic factor to it, so it's not really directly serious. If y'all want to reach me, if y'all want to talk to me, like my pics, stuff like that, know when I'm about to post, I will be posting on my Instagram, which is right here. Go ahead and follow that. We're on 1,000 subs here. Thank y'all. So we're gonna be hopefully at 1,000 followers on that page. So everyone who's subbed up, go ahead and follow me on Instagram. I'll let y'all know before I post, when I post, after I post, where I am, stuff I'm doing, type stuff. So go do that. And yeah, we're gonna break this reaction into like 6 parts, something like that. I'm not reacting to an hour and 27 minutes straight. So this first part's gonna be about 20 minutes. I think it's gonna be about 20 minutes each, so it might be like 6-7 parts. So yeah, let's see how this rivalry really went down.
They talk about it every day, somewhere. If I go to a foreign country, magic, what magic? It's the same everywhere.
Oh, this is by HBO too.
We don't have to see each other. We don't have to say hello. We don't have to call each other.
That's my main competition. It's always been like that.
You know you got this tight bond with this cat, and you don't have to see him for a year or two. But you're always going to be linked to him.
We got this connection that's never going to be broken. I mean, right to our graves. They'll be talking about this 100 years from now.
Is this the biggest rivalry in the NBA? I'm gonna do a poll somewhere, so y'all go check my page. Could be, other than LeBron versus Steph.
It all began here in Salt Lake City, Utah, on the night of March 26, 1979. It was the NCAA championship. Indiana State versus Michigan State.
The highest rated basketball
game that
game
still
ever.
ranks as the highest rated college final ever on television. A game that's now remembered as a prologue to a rivalry that transformed a sport and intertwined 2 legacies. But on that night, March 26, 1979, the first time Magic Johnson and Larry Bird ever went head-to-head on a basketball court. They were simply 2 young men trying to win a very big ball game.
This is probably the biggest game I'll ever play in my life, and I just feel like, I'm representing not only myself, my team, but we're representing our school and our town, Terre Haute.
Well, it's a dream come true, really, for me. I won the state title.
Look how young
in my
they are.
home state, and then my next accomplishment was going to the NCAA and playing in a game like tonight in the finals.
They were 2 stars thrown together by the cosmos to compete.
By the
But
cosmos.
only one of them had been groomed for the spotlight. In his case, it seemed since birth.
I think his upbringing in East Lansing really put that smile on his face in the beginning, and it never came off.
Born August 14, 1959, Irvin Johnson grew up in Lansing, the gritty industrial capital city of Michigan. Raised under this little roof, he was one of Christine and Irvin Johnson Sr.'s 10 kids. Christine was a school custodian, while Irvin Sr. worked 2 jobs nearly around the clock.
My father, he got up early every morning, 6 o'clock or so, and he went to work on his trash hauling truck every single day. Around noon, he would come home, catch a nap, and then he worked for General Motors for 30 years. And he won an award for never being late and never missed a day.
As a youngster, Irvin displayed his own strong work ethic on the blacktop.
I was out there all day long. Before we went to school, the bus leave at 7:30. I was out there at 6:30 working on my game. My mother sometimes had to bring me food, or she would have one of my brothers and sisters go get that boy so he could eat something.
From a very young age, Irvin knew what he wanted to do.
All
planned out.
Every kid
to play in the
wants
NBA
to be an NBA player.
and become a businessman.
Every kid
neighborhood
does.
basketball powerhouse, Sexton High.
I knew the players, I knew the tradition. I wanted to be a part of that. And it was on the west side of town, which was, at that time, predominantly black.
But when Lansing, like many cities in the mid-70s, began busing to desegregated school system, Irvin's journey took an unexpected detour to a predominantly white school across town.
My first day at Everett High School was my first time I really had to understand there was a race problem. Nobody white would speak to anybody black, and nobody black would speak to
They all got
anybody
afros.
A lot of racial tension, a lot of fights, rioting. They didn't want minorities there.
He kind of shrugged it off, and basically his attitude was, okay, well, I'll overcome this.
This era of afros is our era of like twists and stuff like that.
Whenever there was any racial problems, the principal would get Irvin and go talk to these kids. I can just see him with his big hands. Calm down, just calm down. He'd break up fights.
Talk with his friends, tell him, let it go. We can't fight about everything. Let's just chill. Let's play basketball.
And there was no dispute over Irvin Johnson's ability to play ball. His talent was so great that soon after his varsity debut, a local reporter, dazzled by his exploits, gave the budding star a nickname.
In the beginning, I thought it was foolish and dumb. I didn't know nothing about a nickname. Then what happened was, you start saying, wait a minute, it fits my game. Hanging out with my boys on the street corners, we used to sing Temptation songs. They started saying, hey man, Magic, that's cool. And then people on the street start saying, hey Magic. And I said,
Ugly.
He bought into it, and I think he felt he had to kind of live up to that name. And I must say that he did.
He loved it. The more attention he got, he wanted attention from anybody he could get it from.
Yeah, it does. I really love the game, and I just want to win.
Over and back, and he jams it through. Irvin Johnson.
Irvin loved to dress.
Drip star.
The belt pants and
Love to see it.
overcoats with the fur around the collar. Always had to have his afro blown out. He had to look the part, play the part.
Irvin was the first guy to have a posse. He not only had a posse of a lot of black kids, he had a lot of white kids and hanging around him.
Some of my white friends was like, hey man, we're having a kegger tonight, won't you come on by? And I said, what's a kegger?
What is that?
So he said, well, what it is, we get this big keg of beer, and you just go for it. Okay, well, what time does the kegger start? Because regular party time in our neighborhood is 10, 11 o'clock. The kegger starts at 7. I said, the party starts at 7 o'clock? And I said, okay, man, I'm going to come to the kegger. We had a good time. The music was kind of bad, but we had a good time,
Wait, so we do
His
not
senior
crank
year,
that country
Johnson
stuff?
did at Everett what he had planned to do at Sexton, win the state championship. And when it came to choosing a college, he decided to stay where the love would be assured, home in Lansing.
Next year, I will be attending Michigan State University.
In.
At MSU, Magic's star quickly went national. But atop the college game, he soon discovered a certain presence beside him.
The first time I saw Larry Bird,
that is an insane poster. Why is there two? Okay.
was actually in a magazine. Saw his stats. Blown away by his stats. But let's see if he can really do it against us. And that's always a mindset of black players if he's a great white player.
In 1978, after his freshman year, Magic would quickly find out, when both he and Bird were chosen to play for Team USA in the World Invitational Tournament.
They would put Larry Bird and I on the same team together to scrimmage, right? It was blowing my mind because he's dominating Jack Givens, Player of the Year in college basketball. Larry Bird is eating him alive. I couldn't wait to call home to tell my boys, man, this dude named Larry Bird is for real. This is the baddest white dude I've ever seen in my life.
Well, I thought he was very good. There's no question about it. I thought he's probably the best guard on the team.
Irvin Johnson, look at that.
Woo! That's a crazy catch.
I didn't get to play a lot, but you could tell.
I think our first game was in Kentucky. We got about a 10, 12-point lead. Man, they put us in. Went to 25, 30, just that fast.
So they had good chemistry before the beef started too. Interesting.
Take us out.
That's an insane pass, bro. Baha. How? This man is walking backwards.
Take us out. The league go back down. Put us back in.
That's Bird and Johnson.
The show start again.
When you play with Magic, there's just something about it. You want to make that extra pass. You want to get that rebound and start to break.
Full court. Oh my gosh.
We came down a couple times.
Even back then.
My back no look to him. He no look back to me. And I'm laying it up. I'm saying, oh man.
Here's that last play. Magic Johnson going
no look. No look. This is. I did not know this game existed.
They had some wonderful moments on the court, but they probably spoke to each other 4, maybe 5 times during that entire time period, and it was more like, hello, how are you this morning, Larry? I'm good, Magic. What'd you have for breakfast? Don't remember. Have a nice day.
But such curtness was hardly strange coming from Larry Bird, who was not only one of college basketball's best players, but also its biggest enigma.
I think he was a mystery to the extent that he wanted to be a mystery. He didn't enjoy doing interviews. He didn't go out of his way to do them. He wasn't particularly good at them. He was kind of like, hey, this is who I am. You want to know who I am? Watch the game. That's who I am.
I start to read materials that you're very quiet and you don't enjoy talking to newspaper people.
Well, you know, there's different kind of newspaper people. There's people that try to push you. You know, there's people try to get things out of you. Things don't pertain to basketball, and them the type of people I like to stay away from.
He didn't want people talking about his family. He didn't want his mother to have to deal with that, or his siblings to have to deal with that.
You got to remember where Larry came from. You know, Larry was raised in a 2 or 3 room house on a railroad track. Their family probably lived on $50 a week. He was raised tough.
Hey. Larry Joe Bird grew up in southern Indiana, in the twin towns of French Lick and West Baden. The Valley, as locals call it, was a tough working-class area. Tiny and remote, it was one of the poorest places in the state.
I feel like
I didn't know
everybody
people made millions of dollars. I didn't know.
Everybody that makes it out in the NBA has some type of tough heart. It's like a hack or something.
But everybody had a family car. I was in my own cocoon. I was in a small town with the people I knew, and I thought I'd live there for the rest of my life.
Arriving Pearl Harbor.
Like, of course, there's going to be like brawnies and stuff that come every now and then that come from a great NBA player, but everybody comes from hard beginnings.
Harbor Day 1956.
Almost
Larry
everyone.
was the 4th of 6 kids born to Georgia and Joe Bird. Early on, he and his older brothers earned a reputation around the valley.
We were always considered troublemakers. We're either fighting amongst ourselves or there was always one of us fighting somebody. Larry was always one that kind of instigated things, you know.
If I get my brother in a fight with somebody his age, I was happy as hell because I like to see him get beat up. And that's just the way it was.
That's insane.
If I got in a scrape with some kid and my brothers didn't come to my side, they knew that when he got home, my dad was going to whip him.
Larry and my dad were best of friends. They done everything together. When my dad would go out to my grandma's house, Larry would always go with him. They'd go fishing, do a lot of things together.
But Joe Bird also had a darker side, stemming from a traumatic tour of duty in Korea.
Larry remembers waking up in the middle of the night hearing his father's blood-curdling screams from the nightmares he had had from the war. What happened to his father in the war affected his entire life. He was never able to quite get rid of whatever those demons were.
A talented craftsman, Joe Bird struggled to hold steady jobs. And even when he was working, his demons would, on occasion, drive him to the bottle.
There were times when Joe went out with the guys and had a few beers and the wages didn't come home that night. And that didn't happen every day. It happened once in a while, but when money is as tight as it was for the Birds, once in a while was a major problem for their family.
My mom sometimes worked late and sometimes she had 2 jobs, but that's the way it was. I worked at school during my lunch hours, worked at the local grocery store, put up hay in the summer. I mean, if you wanted money, you had to get it on your own.
To young Larry, actions spoke louder than words.
Cap.
He was very quiet, kind of hung to himself a little bit.
I saw Larry take an F in an English class because he had to get up in front of his peers and give a speech. So I won't do it. But he just could not get up in front of his friends and talk. He was that shy.
Of course, next thing you know, when he knew it was time for all of us together at the gymnasium, well, there he'd be. The minute he'd get a basketball in his hand, things were totally different.
Basketball was just, it came to me, seemed like easy. I didn't have the quickness, I didn't have jumping ability.
Good catch.
I just thought the game out.
That boy said it came easy, you know.
Springs Valley High.
It's in my blood. I just picked up a basketball and immediately knew how to hoop. You feel me?
Larry Bird had sprouted into a star. But Bird was from the Valley, hardly a hotbed of talent in the big-time world of Indiana hoops.
The first thing they say, well, they don't play nobody down there. He's from French Lick. They don't play nobody.
I think that put a chip on his shoulder, always having to prove who he was and how good he was.
He was good enough for Indiana University's Bobby Knight to come calling late his senior year. And folks in the Valley couldn't have been prouder. Their local hero was heading 60 miles north to play ball for one of the best college teams in the land.
Once I got to IU, it didn't take long to realize that I was out of my cocoon, had over 30-some thousand students, that I didn't have the funds. First week and a half, I thought, man, this ain't gonna work.
He left after 24 days.
Let my mother down. She didn't talk to me for 2 months, but it didn't matter what other people said. To this day, I don't care.
Back in French Lick, Bird took to working for the city, hauling trash and painting park benches. Meanwhile, by that winter, his father's demons had taken him to an even darker place.
By this point, Joe and Georgia were divorced, and he was behind in his payments to the family. The police came by, and of course they all knew him. So Joe said, hey, I need a few hours to get my affairs together before you take me away. So he called Georgia and he said, you guys will be better off without me, and I'm gonna take my life. And he put the phone down and he killed himself. He shot himself.
When Dad passed, you know, it hurt Larry. I mean, that was his best friend. It's gone now. But Larry didn't show it a lot.
He just didn't say much, you know. He just kind of held it within. I never heard him speak out about it.
That's how origin story starts.
I was mad when I heard about it, and I was madder after the funeral because I thought he sort of cut out on us during a tough time. But you know, he went through a lot in his life. He did what he had to do.
And Bill Hodges hadn't been as persistent as he had been, Larry Bird might never have existed in any of our minds. I believe that with all my heart. I really do.
It was Bill Hodges, a young coach from Indiana State University, who convinced Bird to give college hoops another shot. So with a promise to his mom to graduate, Bird headed to Terre Haute and ISU, a school that never so much had been to the NCAA tournament.
Once I started playing, it's the same old thing. You know, he's at a small school and he ain't playing against anybody, which is fine. Still dominated.
Still haven't been to a NCAA championship is insane. Add a Larry Bird and you're immediately a championship team. They have a song about him? That's different.
By the
No.
time he had led tiny ISU as a senior to a 33-0
They have a Larry Bird anthem. Insane.
and a spot in the '79 title game, Larry Bird had become, alongside Magic Johnson, the talk of college basketball. Just a year after sharing the court on Team USA, they were back together. And the day before the big game, Magic couldn't wait to greet his old playmate.
Indiana State was on practicing, and we were waiting in the tunnel. We got there early. I wanted to definitely say hello to Larry, you know. When they came through, it was like nobody would say nothing. I wanted to go toward him, like his guys, like made sure that he didn't say nothing. And then they kind of start snickering, like, Michigan State, you in trouble. We're going to kill you guys tomorrow.
I probably did snub him. I don't remember it, but I'm sure I did. I didn't.
The dynamic is insane. Magic's like, oh yeah, we're all cool, we're all cool. Larry's like, I could have done it, I could have not. I don't remember. My brain didn't work. You know, I was just hooping. I was hooping since a baby. You feel me? Yeah. I did all that stuff. It's like they have reverse personalities. I think Magic was the cocky one.
You know, like I call it love fest, hugging and slapping high fives with opponent. You're there for a reason. You're there to win a game.
That just said it's on now.
Interesting.
It is Indiana State against Michigan State.
I'm sorry to pause it there, but we are going to stop here. It's 19 minutes in. I paused it at a very bad time. But yeah, we're going to react to part 2 very soon. Like, comment, subscribe. See you on the next video.
I'm just talking on this beat, like it's just you and just me. We can say it's side out of